Good morning, everybody. My name's Robert Coulter. I'm the General Manager for Partnerships here at the AFA. I'm delighted to be introducing today's session. Today's webinar is entitled Your Best You, Get Productive, Find New Client Opportunities and Welcome Silver Linings. This is another AFA in Practice series webinar designed and delivered by advice professionals, so you get first-hand, immediately implementable tools and tips to grow your knowledge and your business. Today you hear from two fantastic advisors, Erin Truscott and Amie Baker. Both Erin and Amie are members of our AFA Inspire leadership team. Both have built successful advice businesses and both are here today to share some of the tips and tools that are working for them. You'll hear some great productivity ideas, especially if you're working from home with a young family. Erin and Amie will also share some of the practical and innovative ways that they've worked with their clients to engage them in this new world of ours. And on a positive note on the pandemic, Erin and Amie will share some of the silver linings, the opportunities that have identified during the challenges and disruption of the last few months, both for themselves and their business. Erin Truscott has been a financial advisor and shareholder of GCA Financial Proprietary Limited since November 2014. Erin spends her days working with her clients and helps them build meaningful strategies to help them achieve their lifestyle goals with a true belief that wealth is far more than just money. Before joining GCA, Erin spent 8 years on the corporate side, helping advice practices develop their businesses, work better with their clients, and in turn prosper alongside them. This was where Erin found her true passion for advice and knew she needed to do more to ensure that she could help as many as Australians as possible to get better advice with meaningful outcomes. Amie Baker is a director, financial advisor and certified money coach with Recap Advice and Sensibility. Amie has worked in finance for 16 years, starting with St George Bank, where she found her passion for helping people in debt. This quickly had her move her focus to studying financial advice. In 2009, she left St George to pursue her career as a financial advisor. In 2013, Amie set up her own businesses, which is known as Recap Advice, where she serves her clients as a financial advisor and money coach. As a mother of 6, Amie fully understands the pressure of raising a family while juggling a career. So before we begin, I'd just like to cover off some of the webinar housekeeping if I could. Today's webinar tracks one CPD point and that will be available. We will email that out to you within the next week. We'll also answer questions at the end of the presentation. So please use the Zoom Q&A feature, not the chat feature. And you can see that in the diagram below. This presentation will be available also online. I'm absolutely thrilled to be introducing this, but I'm thrilled to hear what both Erin and Amie have to say. Erin and Amie, thanks for putting together this really important information to help our members. Over to you, Erin and Amie, and welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Well, today we've broken it up with a few modules. So we're going to start with module 1 on how to be productive. I think this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it's a massive one, isn't it? Because, you know, we've all been thrown into this huge world of change basically overnight, you know, where we were told to go home from our offices, set up at home and somehow start to run our days and our businesses that way. And if you're someone that hasn't been doing that or hasn't done that in the past, it's quite difficult. It's a big challenge.
It's been a massive challenge, but a lot of people forget that not only were we thrust into working from home, but we were with our entire families. So I've read a lot of articles and there was a lot of polls and everything on social media on how to be productive from home and using new technology and all of these things and the challenges and the pros and cons and all of that, but no one actually had the discussion about working with children. So I was happy to actually have this conversation because it's like the elephant in the room that no one wants to speak about. We all are professionals, but many of us have kids and sometimes we're having to juggle the homeschooling or we're dealing with toddlers and, you know, we've got 2 parents, both full-time in the home office and, you know, having to manage that. So this has been the biggest challenge I've found, because I've been working from home on and off for many, many years. So I had an office in the city, but I also had kids. So I always had to be very flexible. But I've never actually been in a situation where, apart from school holidays, having kids at home, having to be homeschooled, and then a baby. So I was facing very new challenges, and I thought, I'm certainly not alone with this. And I had to work out new ways of managing my time and getting things done. And, you know, sometimes that meant that although I'm very invested in my children's education, I had to think, you know, I had to work out what was important in that day to get done. So the mornings would start with the children at the table, but by lunchtime, usually they were upstairs doing their own thing, and I just had to let it go and pick your battles, you know. And I'd communicate with the teachers and let them know, I'm doing my best, but this is my situation. And that's, I think, the best part of this whole experience, was learning to manage those expectations, not just for myself, but for everybody around me. And I thought about that lot, you know, overall as a business owner, and how we do that for our clients. We manage our clients' expectations. This is throwing it into my personal life as well.
Yeah, which is really awesome. And I think, you know, I always talk about just having the conversations. It's really funny. We all sit back and we go, oh, you know, this is going to be really stressful. But it's amazing what happens when you actually go and approach whoever you need to have the right conversations, and how understanding they can be. For me, the biggest challenge was, you know, how to set up for the day, because working in an office environment with a relatively large team, and then working from home, I kind of fell into that slump initially of get up, maybe go for a walk, but stay in the gym gear, sit down at the table, eat my breakfast. And then, you know, there wasn't a structure to the day. Whereas when you go to work, you know, you get up, you get dressed, you know, you need to be there by a certain time, you know, you have certain breaks. So for me, it was about, you know, making the day like any other day, right? So you get up, you do whatever exercise, your walk, your meditation, whatever it is that's good for you. Have a coffee, get dressed, have a shower and get dressed. No, this doesn't mean put on a suit, but it's just get feeling, you know, you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel like, yep, feel good. I've had a shower, and, you know, it just kind of feels refreshing. Plan your breaks throughout the day. So think about, you know, how often would I have a break if I was in the office? Who might I communicate with, because I'm in isolation? So if you're someone that's very social, you might want to add in some, you know, ISO free time where you just call or jump on a call with someone, or jump on a Zoom chat or a house party with the team just for a minute, just to sort of get some social interaction, and have some me time. So no matter how long or short that is, or whatever it is that works for you, just take those few minutes to have for yourself. And when you are feeling overwhelmed about the day, because you're like, oh my God, I'm fully in control of my day, how I am, there's no one here watching me or holding me accountable, it can be quite overwhelming. So giving yourself that time and kind of understanding, it's like having a chat to yourself to understand that it's okay if you feel a bit overwhelmed, and just start to build that plan that works for you to set your day up in the way that's going to make you the most productive.
And you've hit some really good points there that I want to bring in with when you're managing your day and your time, and say you've got those interruptions with family around. One thing I did is I would have my list, but I had if I could just achieve these 2 things today, then I'm on track. It's amazing what you can do when you've got the pressure and that time constraint. So if you are breaking your time up, like you've suggested, where you've got your breaks, you know, okay, from, you know, say 9 till 11, I've got this time and I'm going to work on this task and that task. What I do is I have my assistant, and we basically go through our work in progress and a task each, and then we both go off and do those tasks, turn off those emails. And we'll talk about in later modules those, you know, hacks and technology that we can use. But the fact, you know, setting up yourself, but also being accountable is another really great trick. It's amazing how much you get done when you have the pressure. So I use the 72-hour concept of, it's a story about entrepreneurs that go on a bus, and they're on this bus for 3 days. Some of these guys have been working on these, launching their businesses over a year, and then what they actually achieve in those 72 hours is quite incredible. So they go through these amazing steps. And it's really just motivation at the end of the day. So if we can keep ourselves in that mindset to be motivated, break down the day in bite-sized pieces, and know that you've got this time limit, you've got to get things done. Putting that little bit of pressure on yourself is not a bad thing. And the other thing that I found has been very helpful, because I've been self-employed and at times just completely on my own. I'll outsource to a paraplanner or assistants that have been part-time. I've got a team now with Davina's full-time with me, which I can't live without. But I also have a friend who's outside of my business, who's also self-employed, that I sit with once a week, and we have an accountability meeting. It means that, the following week I can say that I've actually achieved a few things. And then we, at the end of a quarter of after 90 days, we actually do something together to celebrate, or do something for us, myself to celebrate, that I've actually know that I'm moving forward with not just the goals of just day to day and getting my client work done, but because I've got a business and I've got other goals within my business, I really want to ensure that I'm pushing forward with getting some of that stuff done, and then look back and go, well, I started this, project 6 months ago, and look how far I've come. So that is one of my big things, is always have someone you can be accountable to, whether it be a mentor or a friend who's also self-employed. It's really important that someone is as hungry and wants to move forward. It's really important that you are careful with who you choose to have that accountability meeting with, because you want to ensure that you get that hour that you have with them to be really productive. So you understand what they want to achieve, and they understand what you want to achieve, and then you can just set out on your week. I do that on a Monday so that my week is set up. Mondays seem to have become my favorite day because of this.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And it's funny, so when we're creating all this content, Amy and I was speaking about this concept, and I've since added it to my week, and it actually is really cool. Like it's we encourage our clients to do it, be accountable. So why aren't we accountable, to ourselves and others? And it's amazing what you achieve when you're reporting back to someone. The other interesting point that I wanted to talk about was this concept of goal setting. And again, we all do this, right? But how often do we set ourselves up with goals that could, or do our clients set themselves up with goals that could fail because there's not the right sort of planning around them? So I have a life coach, and I've worked with him for years, and I sit with him once a month, and he sort of took me through this, because we were having this chat last month about how crazy the change is, and like, how do you deal with such sudden change? And I was talking to him about this, and he was like, set yourself mini goals. And I really loved this, because it was like, you literally sit at the end of the day, and you think about the end of the day and the feeling of goodness that you have, or happiness, or achievement, because you've done A, B, C, and then really look at those things and go, okay, like, what are the things that are really meaningful? Because we all get caught out with technology. We've got these bad habits of picking up our phone anytime it pings or whatever, but it kind of breaks us out of the concentration that we're in. It takes us 10 to 20 minutes to get back into whatever that task that we were doing was. So he talks about these setting mini goals and sort of having the conversation with you at the start of the day, like, hey, future me, what's today look like if it's really successful and awesome, and that means something? Like, these things that you're going to do mean something. It's gotten you a step further in something, or it's gotten your clients a step further in something. And it's really helped me, because it's easy, because it's achievable. Whereas if you start the project at the end of the 6 months and you're like, in 6 months I want to get here, it seems so overwhelming, so you're less likely to do it. But if you just do the little baby steps each and every day, and it's so funny because we do this with our clients, right? But somehow we forget to do it for ourselves. So it was a nice little reminder about setting these mini goals for me, around, so simplistic, but I wasn't doing it, and now I am, and it just makes you so productive.
It also prevents overwhelm.
Yes.
It's that old saying, I changed it because I prefer it this way, but how do you eat a dinosaur? One bite at a time. I prefer to eat a dinosaur than an elephant. But that's basically the concept, is one bite at a time, one small piece at a time, and the next thing it's all done.
Yeah, and it's an amazing feeling. Like, when you achieve things throughout the day and you don't get to the end of the day and go, I've just done all this stuff all day, and now it's 4:30 or 5 o'clock and it's time to pick up the kids. but I'm not satisfied with what I've done. Like imagine every day finishing with you going, yeah, I'm really satisfied with what I've done. And the best way to do that is kind of reverse engineer your day to pick those things that are really meaningful, that will get you ahead, and then just knock them off one by one.
Yeah, a productivity hack is blocking out that time, as I said earlier. And I'll just sort of go into more detail with when you've got that time frame. You go, okay, I've got 2 hours to get this task, and for me, I break it down with clients. So I've got this case that I'm working on, and I've got that 2 hours. I turn off my emails. My assistant Davina is working on something herself, and we use Slack. And I'll go into that later, but I don't, because I'm not getting emails, I'm not getting distracted. I don't have my phone on, it's on silent. So unless there's, it'll show up if there's a phone call or whatever, I'll get back to them, or I'll send a quick text message, but I do not spend time on my phone, and I do not spend time going through social media. It's like, that's my time. It's usually because I've got a baby asleep that I'm at the desk. Otherwise I'm doing other things, and when she's awake or whatever, I have to work from my phone somewhere sometimes. That's all going to change, but it was sort of not the ideal timing to sort of come back into working during lockdown and not be able to get her into childcare. So we've had to work around that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been in the same boat as me, where you are trying to work and you've got kids, or your school holidays are coming up, or we may go through this again where there might be another outbreak. So if you are in that situation, that would be my biggest tips, is block out time. And really, it's not a bad thing to put a little bit of pressure on yourself, but when you're blocking out time, be mindful about blocking out everything else to give yourself that focus.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, shall we move on to module 2?
Yes, another one I like.
Oh, I love all of it.
I should be doing more of this one, actually.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I'm sure that everyone watching this could probably safely say that, we're supposed to put ourselves first, but we spend so much time putting everybody else before us. And then the issue becomes that we've burnt ourselves out and we haven't given anything to ourselves, which means we can't give anything to anyone else around us. And, to me, this concept of me time or you time, but looking after ourselves and giving ourselves that ability to go, it's okay to have the time, it's worth it, for so many reasons. And, it's that big way that allows you to, remain focused, improve resilience, and just keep that really healthy mind and body. They say like moving for 30 minutes a day. It seems so short a period of time compared to all the other things we do during the day, but yet somehow we forget to do it. How often do we take time to switch our, brains off and just do something that's completely different to what we're doing in our everyday work lives and with our kids and our partners, like just time for you. And I think it's a really big challenge is to firstly consider, if you're doing that, and if you think you're doing it, but then it somehow still involves kids and partner, because I think it's really important to have, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, just time for you. And you could just go, I'm going to walk out the door and see where that takes me. In fact, I do that once a week. Sometimes I end up on the swings at the park. Sometimes I end up sitting on a rock at the creek. I just kind of walk out the door and see where the world takes me, right? And it just happens, and it's really cool. It's hard to do, so you've got to plan the time, right? Like Amy, you were just talking about in the first module, be productive with your time, your work time. We'll put that uninterrupted time in your diary, however often it is that you need it, because it works wonders for what you can then do.
Absolutely. I wanted to raise that we can get really guilty in doing that, but when I go for my walks, I listen to podcasts. So I sort of then go have that moment of going, why am I feeling guilty? I'm still being productive because I'm getting inspiration. And the podcasts I listen to often have to do with business and not always finance, but that's because I'm interested in it as entertainment to me. And it's like, that's what I like to hear. But then there's other times it might just be a bit of music. Either way, my mind goes somewhere. It's like meditating. Your mind's going in, it's away from work. It's away from the pressures of what am I cooking for dinner, or dealing with my, a teacher contacting me because my son's, not, responding to her emails, or whatever the case may be, you know, the stresses that we have to deal with when we're all under the same roof and we're not really able to get out or go anywhere apart from just going for the walk. But that also has fixed my thinking of being guilty for doing something for myself. Is that, hang on a minute, I'm being really inspired by this. And by being inspired means that I'm going to be productive. I'm actually going to be a happier mum, a happier wife, a happier friend by actually getting out, you know, getting some exercise and some fresh air. And when you're happy, everyone else is happy. Isn't it? Say happy wife, happy life. If you're not a wife, happy husband, happy life too. It does work. It does work.
Yeah, and look, we're adapting to this whole new rhythm, right? And so we're going through all this stuff that we've, you know, never been. If you look at, you know, the younger generation, they're shocked and terrified at all this because they're like, what? Bad things happen, you know, like this is kind of the first time a lot of people are going through something crazy in the world that's like changed everything we do on a day-to-day basis. And we're such a free country that we've felt like we've kind of been put in jail, and it's felt really difficult. And I think one of the biggest things that after the first few weeks, you know, the first few weeks I felt a bit mad, I felt a bit angry, I was on this really good trajectory, and a few things then got put on hold, and it created a bit of a stressful time. And you know, I then got to this point where somebody said to me, Erin, you've just got to accept what is. And it just is like that light bulb moment, because it's true. It's completely, you know, we have these conversations about what's within our control and what's not, right? And this was not within our control. You know, like nothing we could have done would have changed, you know, what happened. And we just have to accept that. And the minute you do that, you kind of become okay with it. And then you go, okay, cool. So that's happened. Can't change it. So that burden that you carry around in your mind about how you want to try and take control of it and like get your power back and like take over it, which is impossible, becomes something that's freed space now. So then it opens up your brain to start thinking about, okay, cool. So now that I've accepted what is, how am I then going to use this? And that's such a really good, I guess, way to look after yourself in any situation like this, where things happen that are out of your control. The minute you kind of accept it, then you can use that brain power and that energy to do something different or pivot or adapt because you've got free space.
Absolutely. Well, there's been a lot of, and that's the podcast I've been listening to, it's about people pivoting their businesses and adapting. And when you are in a space of going, okay, it's out of my control, we can then get creative. Okay, this is situation. We can't whinge and moan about the situation. It is what it is. But now that I accept what it is, how am I going to move forward with that? And it actually is such a great life lesson, not only with all areas of our lives. You know, if we actually just have a point of acceptance, and then you can actually be really open to change or open to adapting, as you've put it, and some businesses pivot and redirect because the situation at hand is what it is. When sort of going back to the previous point where, you know, there was a conversation about COVID guilt, there's a lot of people have been put in a position and we see this as financial advisors, where all of a sudden their financial position has dropped massively. And then there was clients of mine that financial position actually thrived because they were working and they're not spending any money. And there's clients that are gone 6 figures down to JobKeeper. It's thrown everyone out in some way. It's had me re-evaluate a lot of clients' financial plans and goals and have to reassess where they're going and what they're doing. And out of that, there's also this sense of guilt because I'm really busy and then there's people I'm looking after, serving, that are going through such challenging times. It comes back to that, the next point of adapting to this new rhythm and accepting what it is and working with how can we fix it? How can we, embrace the situation and see the positive in it as well. And we talk about that a little bit later as well, seeing silver lining. But throughout each module, you can see the positive spin. We're looking at every challenge that's been thrown at us in this time, and many of us will continue to work from home. and we don't know if there's going to be another outbreak or what's going to happen, or how the financial markets are going to perform. We don't know. But the fact is, we've been thrown into the thick of it now. It's all about how we're going to sort of muddle through it, for lack of better wording. And adapting is something that is just such a great way of just going out, let it go, as you just said, and just that freedom of just accepting what it is. I just used that "let it go," and that song's just popped into my head. There you go.
So I mean, to me, the action here is to, you know, and it's something that you're going to have to work really hard on. But I believe everybody should have this in their life, whether it's, I think it should be at least weekly. Put the time in for yourself. And it doesn't mean, look, you don't need to go and do a crazy weightlifting session or go all eat, pray, love and move to Bali and meditate all day or any of that sort of stuff. It's just picking something that gives you some time. It could be a short walk. It could be a swim at the beach. It could be a walk on the beach. It could be some breathing exercises. If you want to do meditation, which is a wonderful thing, but you struggle with it like me, there are amazing apps out there that you can get that do like little guided meditations, and it is amazing. You know, you think it's not going to work, and then next minute you're like, whoa, what just happened for the last? It's just 5 or 10 minutes, but it just allows you to switch off that, you know, work and stress and overwhelm, and get into a bit of a calm state. And then you can make so much. Your choices are better. You're more happy, which makes you better for your clients, better for your family, your kids, your partner, your friends. Basically, a better quality human to everyone in the world. So my sort of, I guess, key action here for everyone watching this is just set yourself a challenge of setting that time every week, whether it starts with 10 minutes and you sort of work up to getting up to an hour to yourself. It's such a powerful tool to have in your kit box, is time to do that stuff for yourself, and just choose whatever it is that works for you. And if you don't know, do what I do and just walk out of the house and see where the day takes you. It's actually quite a fun exercise.
I'm going to take you up on that, because I mean, I'm guilty in respect to putting more time aside for myself, and then I get really angry and resentful to everybody. So, and that's not helping the situation whatsoever. So I really just have to put my foot down and go, I'm going for a walk. I do schedule times for walks, often with Gracie, but I need to do more of that. So I'm going to take that advice from you.
Awesome, and hopefully everyone watching will too. All right, shall we hit up 3? So the opportunities around engaging with clients, right? This is a massive one. We've all had to drastically change the way that we see people, and it's been really interesting because some people have found, like I've spoken to heaps of people about this, because it's not just us as advisors, it's basically any business providing service to clients. You know, they've all had to move to this environment where you're doing, you know, meetings online, Zoom, Skype, however you're doing it, FaceTime. And it's been really interesting because it comes, some people have embraced it, some people hate it. I was having a chat the other day about how everyone's just so over Zoom, like when can we stop doing Zoom meetings? But there's also, for me, this huge amount of quality in the learning I've had around time, and how you think that you need to have a client sitting in front of you because somehow that's more valuable to them. But then you're saving them time, you're saving you time, you know, and you're just doing it in the environment where you can then hang up the phone, particularly in the advice where, you know, after you do a review, write your file note, finish all your stuff, pass it on, and then you can go on to the next one. So there's been some really awesome opportunities discovered just through being forced into change really quickly, and it was the only way we could continue to do what we did, was using the phone and the you know, web meetings. So look, I don't know if this is going to be new to anyone who's on the call, but I'd love to hear feedback on, you know, whether you've loved it or hated it, because I mean, I found it really useful and just so much more productive to sit and do, you know, meeting after meeting in the office when I'm doing reviews, and then, you know, you're still there, so you can get access to all your stuff, do it up, pass it on. So I think, you know, moving forward, sure, there'll still be a lot of face-to-face, but certainly, you know, you want to, I mean, I'll be wanting to introduce some more of this Zoom style approach to meetings in some cases, because it's so productive.
100%. I absolutely love where we're heading with technology. I started using Zoom some time ago, because I have clients interstate as well, and I was juggling between city and home. And then when Gracie came, I was already preparing my clients for Zoom. So, but I absolutely love Zoom meetings, and I record all my client meetings. So that goes into their file. It's a file note, it's recorded, it's there. I'm using a lot of more technology because I have a baby at home, and when the kids were here and I'm like, okay, I haven't got time to type up stuff. What I used to do is I'd have a phone conversation with a client, for example. I would send them an email with the notes of that, so they actually had a copy of the file note, so they would get it in an email form as well. And that was a great system for me, and I love doing that. And the clients understood my process, because I always explained my process from when we first meet, and they understood that I had to record any conversations around the advice piece, or things with their goals and whatnot. They respected how we were operating. But now what I'm doing is I'm recording my voice and saving that. And I've got Speechy that also dictates my notes. So if I'm, in the kitchen making up a bottle and not at the desk, and I've just spoken to a client, I haven't got time to get back to the desk for another 2 hours or something. That's how I'm doing it. And I remember watching a webinar years ago with an advisor who would meet with a client, and then after that, they'd go to their home, for example, and they'd get in the car and then they'd do a quick video and send that off to the client. And I thought about that and I was like, that's really cool, but I don't really want to do videos to my clients. They've just been on the phone to me. I think they've heard enough from me, but I need to get that information into the system. So there's a file note there, and I'm being efficient as possible and not forgetting anything. So that's what I'm doing, is technology has become my best friend around managing my time. So Speechy and using, the voice recorder on my phone. And then also Davina's fantastic. Her and I'll send something to her via Slack. Can you upload this on Advisor Logic for me? Bang, done. So it's all very quick and done. And I'm being able to get along and be present for my children then. Bigger point is that I'm being compliant and not forgetting any information, because I've got so much, I'm juggling so much. So it's about, these times have created incredible opportunities in how we actually operate our business and allow us to be present with our children or our husbands or our wives or, our partners, because we're all under the same roof. We're all working from home together. And at that point, you have to be present.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, we'll share. So we'll send out a list after this of all the bits of technology that each of us have talked about. The final point on this one is a really cool one, because I think this is something that a lot of advice practices have taken advantage of because of this world we're thrown into with COVID-19. And this is, of course, around engaging with your clients. So, how many businesses would just send out a quarterly newsletter or a monthly newsletter, and send it out because we did that, we can tick it off the list and that sort of thing. So what I found with COVID-19 is because it's been so heavily linked to money, there's been stimulus, there's been people that have lost money, there's been people that have had to rework their entire lives and their entire cash flow and stuff to survive through this, is how you can connect and engage with clients in real time. So bringing that human aspect into it, like the stimulus packages come out, you jump on your phone, you hit record and go, hey guys, stimulus packages came out today. Here's what it means for you. If you're doing this, if you're doing that, now 6 in 10 Australians are looking at their money where it used to be 2 in 10. So you jump onto a video and go, cool, now's a great time to look at your money. So what I've found is it's a really cool way to, or kind of a reminder that there's always something so topical, particularly with what we do, because money makes up so much of everything that people do in the day. It's not the most important thing, but it's the vehicle that allows us to do it, right? So being able to pick those things up in real time and just be human and make a video, not everything needs to be perfect. And that's one of the cool things that I've really learned and discovered through this process is people love not info, quick videos, quick grabs of stuff that are super topical that'll help them with the pain point that they're having. And there's been a million pain points on the daily for the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. So, for me, it's been around, and certainly something that I'll continue to do after this is instead of just going, oh yeah, let's do a newsletter, tick off the compliance box. It's like, what's happening in the world right now? What do people need to know about? What are the things that people are suffering that are painful to them right now? And then you're the face that's in the inbox going, hey, just, this just happened, or I'm watching this, or I've seen this, or I've heard 10 people talk about this today, so I thought I'd do a quick video on it because I know something about it. And it works so well. So for me, it's been about that. It doesn't need to be perfect. Engagement is human, right? People love human engagement. We don't need to do a big formal thing every time we want to share a bit of information. So I think that's a really key thing. And if you're not afraid to sort of just flick the camera around, and you can do this with your iPhone, like they make perfectly good videos. And then shoot them out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your mediums are that you enjoy or that your clients look at, or your favorite persona of clients look at, so you can maybe get some new business. It's just been really cool to be able to kind of communicate in real time rather than tick a box, and I think that's been a really big learning for me. So I think it's a good thing for everyone to give focus as we sort of move forward, because the world will go back to a new normal. How are we engaging with our clients, and do they care about how we're engaging with them, or could we make it more meaningful?
It's such a good point. I have been probably communicating with my clients now on a weekly basis in some way, shape or form. And then I'm also doing the same thing you've suggested, is on social media, sometimes throwing out a quick video or a post. And I used to be terrified of all of that. Someone had said recently, it doesn't have to be perfect, and, just do it. Don't think about it. Get the message you really want to and are passionate about sending, and then just hit send. The more practice you get, the easier it is. You just got to get over yourself. I mean, the fact is that there is so much information that we're needing to send out at the moment, the last 3 months. I actually started, beginning, I'd have about 5 or 6 clients contact me with the same question. It just makes more sense. Again, managing time and being business efficient is just going, okay, I'm just doing this one quick video, or I've done, little webinars for those people, and just saying, come online at this time, we're going to just have a chat about it all. And that makes such a big difference to them. And people don't care for perfection. They want information. They want to know they're being heard, understood. And getting on the phone, I found myself doing that more often, just going, how are you going? Because people are going through really tough times at the moment financially. And it's a human touch. It's important just to have that connection. It's and just tapping in to see how people are actually feeling about things, as opposed to just, this is some technical information. It's more on the human touch and human side of things. So I do believe that there's a silver lining in this is how we've been changing the way we do our business. Another thing I've been doing is the SOAs. I'm using Loom, and actually recording me going through the SOA and sending that to the client. So when they've got the time in their day or over the weekend, they can actually just watch the video, as opposed to doing several meetings, because we've done the meetings, we've discussed everything, they understand it. Now here's the document, and I'm walking through it via video from my screen. And that's also another great hack because I believe that if I'm challenged by my time right now, most people are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, there's no one that hasn't been affected by this. So I think, it's such that great reminder. The big connection in the client world that we're obviously all seeing, with clients is, only in this crazy COVID time have now people gone, oh shit, wish I would have thought about my money a bit more.
Yeah.
Wish I had a rainy day bucket. So we're seeing that with our clients, right? Because it's always what we try and encourage them to do. And it's the same for us in business, We're doing all these things to engage through a really tough time, but now we can sort of take it into, like, even when things go back to normal, there's still super topical things we can share in such a short time of the day. And it's this one to many, like you can send one video and touch so many people in a different way, and help them, in a different way. And I just think it's so cool. So my sort of key, I guess, takeout is that we shouldn't just be doing this when it's hard, just as our clients shouldn't just focus on their money when they don't have any now, because if they had have given it focus properly before that and really done, been true to themselves and done what they need to do, then they wouldn't be in so much pain right now, because they'd have some backup, So it's the same for us in business,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, I'm rebuilding my entire process around what I've taken from this whole last 3 months, because I've had to work very quickly to be as efficient with my time, and I'm the busiest that I've ever been in with the less time that I've got, which is crazy. So I've had to really work out how to do it all, without having to be awake all night long working while my entire family sleep, which would just be pointless. I'd be just a wreck after a few, a bit of that. So I do work some nights, but there is still, I go to bed about 11:30, or midnight or something. Some nights it is really late, but I don't do it every single night either. And so what I've had to do, we're redoing our process, is working out where we can save our time. And this is exactly the place to do it, is with using technology. I have to say, it's been a game changer for me. And I'm sure that it has been for many businesses. I mean, we're talking that most businesses are reconsidering how they are operating and working remotely. And this is becoming the new normal.
Yeah. Absolutely. So now we get into my favorite, because I love this one. Silver linings. It's so easy to be negative, but I love going, okay, where's the opportunity here? Because I feel like if you can get the opportunity and you can harness it and seize the day, that you put yourself on the forefront, right? You're kind of instantly ahead of everyone else. And if everyone's trying to do that, then everyone's ahead, and it's really cool, because then everyone's prospering, right? And the whole country's being successful. So I love this concept of, after you accept what is, just looking for those silver linings, like what are the opportunities found through this new normal. And one of the wonderful ladies on our leadership team, Cara, who probably most of the advice community knows, she's here in Queensland. She's a young advisor, and she's just so awesome. And she told us this story. She was going to come on today, but she actually couldn't. But she was telling us this story about, her silver lining has been about reshaping habits. So because she knew she was going to be working from home for a set amount of time, and she knew she had ABC goal. One of them was linked to swimming. One of them was linked to her health and wellness and some eating stuff, changing some diet stuff. The other one was due to how she was going to be productive in her work day. There was all these different things that she was doing, and she basically set herself these reshaping habit, quadrants of what she was going to do and how she was going to create new habits, and challenge herself in this time where she's actually got a bit of spare time because she's stuck at home. And I just thought that was so cool. And we talk about habits and breaking this bad habit chain and all this stuff with our clients all the time. And again, it's we give so much to them, but are we really doing it for ourselves? So I think thinking about what are some of the things that we want to reshape in our lives that we do. Is it a fitness goal? Is it a spending more time with the family? Is it being more productive in our workday? Whatever that may be, and what are the bad things that we do there that we know are bad, that we know that we can keep doing them if they don't make us feel good, and setting a bit of a plan about how we sort of turn the bad habit into a good habit. And I found this really empowering listening to Cara, because she just created so much change in such a short space of time just by giving that some focus. And I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, well, she couldn't go swimming because the pools were closed. So she changed the way she exercised, and she really embraced it. She really just went because she had these goals, right? And it didn't mean, okay, just because these goals are set, say, for example, swimming, all of a sudden that's done. You have to can that goal. She was just no, the goal's still there. It was reshaping that goal and ensuring that you were going to move, forge forward with where you were heading. And she just had a really positive attitude. And so I think we all were a bit, wow, that's fantastic. We've, got to take a leaf out of her book for sure, because we are all in a situation, some more so than others, where whatever we plan to do, we can't do. So how do we reshape that? How do we think about that? Where is the opportunity in this situation that can actually have us going forward with our goals, aside from our business goals and our career goals? And it's everything. It's being healthy. It's about how we're dealing with our children. So there's so many. If we could sit here, we could probably do an entire session on finding the opportunities out of COVID-19, because there's been amazing opportunities. And it's a matter of, as you said before, Erin, bringing this into the way we, live going forward. So all of these things that we're bringing to the table here with module 1, 2, 3, 4 is how do we actually get them so we can carry forward this forever, because that's really the silver lining here, is that there's been these great things that have occurred where we've had to rethink, reshuffle the way we do stuff.
Yeah. And I think, one of the best things for me, and this is like heavily linked to my values. So I've got a really strong value set. My number one value is connection. And it can mean so many different things, but it's like real proper connection, not just, hey, how you going? Yeah, good, thanks. Like, it's like, no, let's be real with each other. And it's really rare to find that, but often in times of adversity, we stumble across it so much more, because it's this thing where everyone's in it together, and it somehow becomes a bit nice to talk about it and share. And again, this is one of those learnings that I want to take into when we get back into this new normal, to just try and do that more often. So the human connection with our clients and loved ones throughout this time, I think has been a really big learning. Firstly, it's a major challenge being stuck inside with your partner all day, every day for a few months. Like, it's hard, it's not easy. It's a good test, that's for sure. But I think connection with clients, just ringing them and checking in. How often do we do that? I mean, you always say you're going to try, but when it's like this, it's like, yes, we're going to do this, we're definitely doing it, and you absolutely do it because you know that they might be hurting. But the stories that you get, and then the connection you then have grown with them on a much deeper level than just surface has been a really incredible learning for me. And not just with clients, but with kids. Our kids have been at home. We haven't been able to take them to the park. We haven't been able to take them to do activities or whatever. So you've got to think outside the box and go, I mean, my daughter's 2.5, so she gets bored really easily. So having her inside for 2 days over the weekend, that was a real challenge. So we had to start coming up with ways of not television, but other things, that we can do in our apartment to allow her to feel like she's having a good day. And a big part of that was just spending time together, and connecting. And I think the relationships that get built through times like this will all become closer and more connected is a really amazing silver lining to all this.
I mean, connecting with our loved ones has been a big one. I've been fortunate to be working with my husband in the same office for a year now, so I'm very used to that. But again, the challenge for me was having the kids around, and then also my kids would go to their dads. And so because we had we were doing it 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, as opposed to 1 week on. So all of a sudden I had no children. I really missed them. And then they'd get back and, I don't know, anyone who's gone through separation who shares their children, I feel that they come back and they've got attitude, and then it takes a couple of days to get them back to the way you're used to them. That's a challenge in itself. But we always have had our meals around the table, and we always share our roses. So what's the most blessed thing that's happened to you today? The conversations that started happening during this time got deeper because people are, everyone was more challenged. For the kids, it's been hard because I have a Muay Thai champion. My son's a national champion, and all of a sudden he can't go to the gym. And he was just chomping at the bit to get some exercise and just do things. I mean, they could go for runs, and now he's turned into a bit of a runner. Like, he goes running all the time. But there, you could see the frustration with the kids more than anything. That was hard for me. But the conversations became far more real and more deeper. And we're now still finding that with sitting down with the kids, we're trying to continue that conversation, continue connecting, as you sort of put it. It's really important to connect with them in that way, because it's sort of been very mentally challenging, especially for children, I found, because they just didn't understand. But the younger ones have no idea and no understanding why they couldn't play with their friends anymore. My 12-year-old, has his mates on both sides of each house, and they're playing in their backyards, and he's by himself. They've got siblings similar ages, but his brothers were at his dad's and he was alone. And it was really hard for us to deal with that fortnight. We had to get them all in together and then all out together because it was just easier. But that in itself was a nightmare. It's been very, very difficult, let me tell you.
Oh, you have 6 kids. I mean, I struggle with one, so I'm feeling a little bit like I've been complaining a bit too much, to be honest. You've just inspired me to stop.
Look, I have to be honest, we're a part-time multiple family, if that makes sense. So I've got my stepdaughter who's here now for exams, but for a period of time she went, oh, my boyfriend's in Queensland, so I'm going to go up there. And then the lockdown basically happened. So she got stuck up there. My stepson lives up there. So, that really hasn't affected us. But usually we have 4 kids plus Gracie, 5 of us, 5 of them, and then Brett and I. And we had a friend who was living with us. She's just moved out. So it was a very busy, crazy time. But then there was times where there was no one home and it was really weird. And it would be just Brett, me and the baby. But we all adapted. But the fact is that what I found is that connection of actually, are you okay and how are you doing, and understanding there's going to be there's going to be tantrums and outbursts, and that's normal. It's about how we deal with that and how we actually get over that and move forward.
Yeah.
And the other thing was also, as we said in the previous module, saying, are you okay, to our clients, especially those have had to have their incomes cut. I've got a few of them. I've got a few Qantas staff that, are on JobKeeper. I've got other people that are sort of in logistics that had gone from, high six-figure incomes down to $30-something thousand a year, which is just incredibly difficult with their kind of mortgages and their families and everything. So this time has been a real time to connect on an emotional level, far deeper than you have as an advisor. And I hope that we can continue that conversation and actually be more, potentially more invited into their lives when we have that understanding of what they're going through, because it's not just about money. It's about the way people are dealing with that on an emotional level, physical level. People can get sick out of this. It's quite a serious time.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, another beautiful thing we've been seeing is the opportunity in business. So, you've only got to look around at not just what we do, but, like businesses that were working on their perfect launch of their digital platform or their, gym membership or their whatever. And they were forced to hit go. And it wasn't perfect. And they found some glitches along the way and all this stuff. But, hey, it ended up working. And now this will create whole other avenues in business that weren't had before. My local delis has the nonna down there makes this amazing tomato sauce, and they actually I can't remember who was telling me this, but their revenue got huge during COVID-19. Like they had to shut the whole cafe, they weren't allowed anyone in there, and these guys are packed all day, right? And she started making bulk jars of this tomato sauce, right? And they've done better through COVID because everyone's at home and they don't necessarily want to make it from scratch, but they want fresh sauce. So that's just one cool story. But I think, it makes you think about in your own business, what are we doing and what are the opportunities here? Are we connecting enough digitally with people? Are we sharing enough? Are we using really cool tools that are available out there to help us engage more with our clients? And, what can we do now that's different in business that adds another arm to it that it didn't have before, because we've now been forced to think about it. I've heard so many horrible stories, and you get to the end of the day and you feel drained and guilty because you feel drained because it's because of listening to everyone else's bad stories, and then you feel so grateful, for what you do have. But some of the others, on the flip side to that, we look after a lot of small business clients, and some of the cool stuff they've been doing is just incredible, and it never would have happened had they not been forced to do the thing that wasn't perfect yet, because it's always that fear. What if someone hates it? What if someone thinks I suck? What if they, and it's like, oh, well, you've got to do it because it's like, for survival, it's, fight or flight kind of stuff. And it's like, it's been really positive for them. So I think, it's a really good time to look inside yourself and what you're doing, and inside your business and wherever you're working, to go, what are the opportunities here that I've always thought I wanted to give a crack that would work perfectly in an environment like this, that I haven't, I've been too scared. of what people might think, and just use this as an opportunity to give it a test. And then, you know, once you start doing that, you realize people don't actually think you suck. They probably think you're really awesome. Then, you know, it just adds a whole other arm to the business, and the opportunities that you can provide for your clients. You know, could be revenue streams. It could create extra time for you, which is worth so much more, you know, like so valuable, you know. So I just think that that's a really big silver lining. In yeah, there's been lots of negative, but some of the people, particularly that I know and that I work with, and some of the local businesses in our communities, what they've done and how they've adapted, and how they've created whole new arms of business that will now stay there forever, that will then create extra revenue for them. So when they do go back to normal trading, they've instantly, you know, like grown the power of what they can, you know, do in their business. And I just find that amazing, and like probably the coolest silver lining out of all of this.
I absolutely love that. Well, I've done that myself in my business. Even though I felt, wow, I'm busy enough. I've had this project for a long time called Sensibility. It's a new platform that I wanted to do. And I thought, you know what, there's a lot of people out there that I want to talk to who have time. So I'm going to lock out some time with them and do podcasts. So because it's 1 hour of a conversation and it doesn't have to be perfect. So, you know, I jumped on that opportunity not because I had the time, it was because I saw they had the time and this was an opportunity. And so my husband's just walked in with our baby and she's looking at me, hello. So this is very human. The other final thing I wanted to bring up, and this is something that throughout every module we've talked about, is picking your battles. There's advice my mother gave me a long time ago, was pick your battles. So when we're dealing with these challenges, you've got to work out really what's most important right now. So when we're looking at our day, starting at the morning and going, okay, I'm going to sort of plan my day. What is the most important part of this day that of all these tasks that I want to achieve? When it comes to the kids, you know, when it came to, for me, with their education, I'm obviously invested in their education. I don't want dummies as children, but heck, I've also got to provide for them. So by midday, and they had sort of waffled off, and I'm quite busy with my workload, and I look at the dining table and they're not there anymore, and they sort of don't come back from their lunch break. I have to pick that battle and go, do I really want to be in this fight right now, or do I just have to let it go? And often I would let it go. And I would email a teacher and go, you know what, he'll get onto it tonight. He's just lost interest right now. And I can't sit there and police that, you know.
Yeah.
And then it came down to how I've worked with technology to manage stuff, because I've had to identify the important thing right now is to feed that baby. So I'm using technology to record a file note. So it's pretty amazing when you actually are thrown into this kind of mess to find these silver linings.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think, you know, we've kind of gone through all of our content now, and I think it'd be good. I know there's quite a few people that have been sitting and listening to us for quite some time. So, you know, Rob, I think you've been curating some questions along the way. So
yes, I have.
We are happy to take some questions for a small amount of time if anyone has any.
Great. Firstly, thank you, Erin and Amie. That was just an absolutely a reel of highlights, right? And we've got plenty of questions here. Erin, first one for you, which was around setting goals in your day. Do you have a system to do that, to keep track of them? What's your tip?
Yeah. So look, you can track. There's all sorts of websites, like, you know, apps and stuff out there, goal setting websites. I go a bit old school with mine, and I actually set them at the beginning of each day. And I set them for my work day, and then my day with my daughter and you know, my partner. So there's certain things that I know I need to do in the day to make sure that A, I'm happy, B, that all of the stuff gets done, the really meaningful things in the business. So you can get apps. There's a bunch out there, and we'll share some on the list. And you can set times that sort of buzz up and remind you and things. But I found that would just start distracting me. So I just did a simple, you know, one pager. It'd just be on one sheet of paper that I can look really clearly. And it's like, what do I have to achieve today to be successful? Like, if I'm feeling X at the end of the day, something positive, whatever your favorite feeling is of achievement, what do I have to achieve? And I think it's just bite-sized chunks, and just I never usually have more than 3 big things. And yeah, I mean, I'm a bit old school. You can do it on apps and you can track them on apps. There's a lot of cool tools out there as well that allow you to go through a whole goal setting process and like create your bucket list and all that sort of stuff. But when I was talking about mini goals, for me, it was just that daily goal stuff. So not the really super, it adds up to the long-term ones, but it's the little goals you set for yourself at the start of the day. And it's cool to write them down because they're right there in front of you. I actually write on my mirror. I write stuff on my mirror. So I don't have
I used to do that.
Go to the bathroom, right? Every time I go to the bathroom, I wash my hands. I see this thing that or it's kind of the why and the vision. So, I mean, if you're comfortable doing that, it's quite confronting at the start because you're reading it all the time, but it just becomes part of your psyche and your thoughts and your feelings, and it just becomes so much easier to get through the day and really start kicking some goals.
It becomes everybody else's goal in the house who's using that mirror as well, I suspect. But Amy, do you have any clients? You were talking about different ways that you have engaged with clients, and forgive me if my interpretation was sort of embracing technology. Do you have any clients that have resisted that? And I think what you said is you had embraced Zoom, for example, some time ago. So just quickly, do you have any clients that have resisted that, and how have you got them to go past it potentially?
I've had clients that have never used it, but what we do is we send out an email and ask them if they're comfortable with that initially, and we do a practice. Davina will do a practice run with them, like a 10-minute practice run with them, so that they're comfortable when the meeting is actually scheduled, which has been very helpful. I haven't had anyone resist. Especially now, it's kind of like it's a do or die situation, not exactly in that dramatic sense, but I mean, people kind of go, well, this is the way we have to do it, because we can't sit in front of Amy to have the meeting. Prior to that, no, I haven't really had problems with people doing Zoom. I years ago tried Skype and other ways, but it was just too difficult. So Zoom made it easier. And when we go through it with the client, it's then embraced. As long as they've got someone to practice with and they're comfortable. So it's a matter of managing expectations from the very beginning, and you shouldn't have a problem.
I think another question that came through was around for you, what, and I know that you said that you'll put this out in a sheet, so the viewers online will actually be able to pick this up. But for you, the pieces of technology that you've loved using during this period. Just that's for both of you.
Sure. I will start if that's okay. Loom is a software that you can have from your computer.
And is that LOOM?
That's correct.
Yep.
Loom. So it records. You can actually have a little camera. Your camera can take a picture of you as well. I don't have that. I just actually have it as my screen. So they're hearing my voice and they're seeing my screen, and it's videoing me going through whatever, and they can see the cursor. It's sort of like often when you want to learn to do something on YouTube, it's that kind of software that it's just recording your screen. The other one is Speechy. So it's a software that you can just record your voice and it transcribes that into written text. And I use just the voice recorder from my phone. So they're the three things that I live by to, be able to just really quickly get something done.
And does Speechy, this is my own indulgence here, Amy, so forgive me, but does Speechy, do you then upload that into Explain?
I use Advisor Logic.
Advisor Logic, okay.
Yeah.
So into your CRM, so.
Yeah. And I also use OneDrive. So I do probably double up, but I have changed CRMs recently. So that's been incredibly helpful to always have something, I use OneDrive. That's, the documents all shared between, it's accessible. So if Davina needs to put something into Advisor Logic or whatever CRM you're using, it's how I've been working for a while.
Fabulous. Erin, for you, what's your top tips there?
Similar to Amy, Speechy is a really great one. But my biggest thing has been probably, I was using Zoom before as well, but using Zoom for more of as a tool to sort of create and start like getting content out there. So it's been more of the use of technology more than ever before to sort of be able to share things. So you can get two people on a Zoom call and host a quick podcast interview or do something that's really topical, right? And then just chuck it straight up on to IGTV or a YouTube channel and then start sharing it out. So for me, it's been about just using technology as a one-to-many communication platform, you know, like instead of just doing it one-to-one in the conversations that you have. And obviously that means it's all got to remain as general nature, but it's just been amazing. And people, as soon as you drop the thing of, you know, thinking people are going to think you suck, because you're the only one that often thinks you suck, and then everyone else thinks whatever the content you're putting out there is valuable. It just starts to work. So I think, you know, that for me has been the biggest thing. It's not like a program. I mean, I've used a lot of Zoom to do that, where I'd just get someone else in on a Zoom call, you'd hit record, and then off you go, chuck it up. So it's been more just using, I guess, technology and trying to educate more people and help those that may not have an advisor at the moment, but they still need access to help and tips and tools to sort of manage themselves. So that's probably been my biggest use of, I guess, technology and the internet to try and get that out there.
Thank you, Erin. Final question, Amy. What's the podcast that you're listening to? And by the sound of it, you're doing your own podcast as well. So there was a question around that.
The ones we've been listening to, I have a friend named Barbara Turley, and she has a business called the Virtual Hub. So she's created, and I have to pull out my phone, but she's created a podcast and she posted on her Facebook. So I always get it from her, but I will put the link because she's been, it's all about businesses and pivoting businesses and ideas. And the other one was Wall Street Women's, something. It's a Wall Street one. Hang on, I'm terrible with names. I'll put it up, but basically, again, it's women in business. And then there's also the Australian one, which is Lady Startup. I love all those ones. All about,
fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, I think that'd be great to share. Now, I just want to record my thanks to both you, you and Erin today. You've taken us on quite a journey. I think there's lots to dig into there. The productive thing for me, you know, Erin, to be frank, I thought that was really courageous about the life goals, the mini goals. You know, I've heard how to eat an elephant, but I like the dinosaur piece, to be honest, Amy. I do think that when you're talking about adapting, really what resonated with me was actually accepting what was within your control. So, you know, you can adapt or accept, but it really resonated with me. I think you've got a song in your head, Amy, about Let It Go. So, which you'll be singing all afternoon.
Oh, probably.
The technology piece, and I know that you'll put that up, but it has really resonated with people around Loom, Speechy, but also, you know, I think not everything needs to be perfect. And I love frankly, the courage about, you know, I think, Amy, you said, listen, I used to be terrified, but frankly, and Erin just said it before so well, that, you know, you might not think it's perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. So no. I really, really love that. I think there are a whole host of silver linings. I think that human connection we all get. Amy, I've got to say, sharing your roses, that was just...
yeah, that's amazing.
That's very, very amazing, and all sitting around a table. Jeebus, doesn't that take you back?
We've always done that, and my mother started that when my boys were toddlers. So well, we even do it in a restaurant. That's how full on we are.
What a great lesson. So I want to record my thanks to you, and thanks for creating this for the audience. I'd like to thank the audience for staying on the whole time as well. I hope you found it as engaging as I have. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Erin. Thanks to the wonderful AFA audience, and I wish you a very good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Guys.
Thank you.